Good morning, I'm Lacey, and this is Jenny and Carolyn. And with our advisors and community partners, we've been working on an online network called Link Atitlan to serve as a platform for water and health collaboration in the Lake Atitlan Basin. Lake Atitlan has a population that's 95% indigenous, and almost half of which live in poverty as defined by the World Bank at US $2 a day. The culture is very centered on water as they live on a lake and use it for cleaning their clothes, fishing, but that also has negative implications for drinking water. Some of the communities use water directly from the lake, and almost none of them have consistent chlorine to get the bacteria out of the water on a regular basis. And so our emphasis has been on water, and it's critical for sustainable development because it provides the foundation for initiatives in other sectors. Without clean water, people get sick, and as children, that has implications on cognitive development, and for adults, it prevents people from being able to work every day and maintain a job. So from our project, we started 2 years ago with our emphasis on clean water in the Lake Atitlan Basin. We started working specifically with water filters and looking for a local source of aggregate for those filters. And that shifted into a water infrastructure survey to find out what other groups were doing around the lake and to find out what the how the local governments were providing water. One of the key parts of the survey results was the need for collaboration. Often organizations didn't know what others were doing, some organizations would come in for a short term and provide a quick solution that didn't have enough maintenance or didn't have an education component to it. So we're hoping that increased collaboration will address some of those issues. So in our current project, we're developing an online networking tool that I'm going to talk about a little of our initial survey research to lead to our design of that tool. We've been working on promoting buy-in and obtaining feedback for the tool, as well as incorporating that feedback into the next iteration of our project. So for our research methodology, we focused on the survey of organizations, both about what they're doing and how they feel about an online network. And then we looked at the feasibility of GIS development in other contexts. What's the precedent for using it? So our methods included interviews for both components, and then we stored information about our survey in a spreadsheet, and our results found that there's many types of filtration used around the lake, and that most organizations work multi-sector, as I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. In terms of feasibility of GIS development, we plotted the GPS points of the organizations on a map and designed a WordPress site for our tool. And with those results, we found that literature shows a great degree of success of using geographic information systems technologies in developing areas, and then we created the website and map, as I had said. This is a graphic showing that organizations work multi-sector. The organizations are on the bottom and sectors are on the top, and as you can see, most of them have arrows that go to multiple, suggesting that collaboration, a visual source of knowing what organizations are working where, both in terms of what sectors they're working in and what locations they're working in, would be beneficial to promote awareness and communication. So in designing this site, we first started from a conceptual standpoint of looking at our stakeholders. First and foremost of which are the Atitlan residents that we're hoping to improve water and health for them. And then the more specific users of the network include the non-governmental organizations and bilaterals that are working with the municipalities and their health systems to provide those services. And then the University of Virginia Guatemala initiative as the network manager is another key stakeholder. As far as aesthetic components, we want our site to be elegant, simple, sticky, that it really attracts the user, and that it provides an opportunity for organizations to talk to each other without us actively controlling that interaction. And then functionally, the site needs to be bilingual. It needs to be collaborative, user-friendly, and compatible with rural loading speeds there, as well as we're going to provide a personal liaison on the ground so that they can answer questions that organizations have and serve as a point of contact. And Jenny is going to tell you more about the site design itself.
Okay, so here we have the previous effort is called Conectando Atitlan, and they're a group that's working around the lake before we actually got there. And they're doing kind of a similar project to ours, but we saw a couple of flaws in just the way that their system is organized. It's not very accessible. They have kind of a cluster of points, but it's not easy to see where the points are leading to, and there's nowhere to navigate from the points. And they also don't really do active outreach to different organizations. And so we saw kind of a place to step in and maybe offer something that was a little bit more accessible and easy to use. And so now I'm going to walk you through our website. Oops, wrong direction. So this is Link Atitlan. We developed it with the help of a local web developer in Charlottesville. And something to keep in mind is that the entire thing is in both English and Spanish. And so we're hoping that it's open to anyone who would potentially want to use it who's working in this area. So the homepage is basically just our program mission and goals. This is our About page. The welcome letter is actually a replica of the one that we distributed while we were on the ground speaking with different organizations. And so just for people who we weren't actually able to talk with yet one-on-one, it gives just the aims of our project. Here's the directory. It's an alphabetical list of the organizations that we've been working with so far, and alphabetical just mostly to show that there's no favoritism involved in who we're working with. And here is really the crux of our website. It's our map. And so we have the different points that we've been working with, and they're color-coded by what sector they're working in, just to make it easier to access the information. And you can see at the bottom, it's also listed just verbally, but then this here is shown filtered by sector. So right now we're only showing the water. And this is important because if you're working in a particular area, it's going to be kind of overwhelming to see all the different projects. And so this allows more selection of kind of what particular area different organizations are working in. And here is what happens if you put your pointer over one of the dots. It pops up with a box with the name, the sectors, and a link to a profile. And so you can actually directly from this map click and visit the profile for a particular organization. And so this gives just basic contact information, background information, and short descriptions of the different projects that they're working in. And we're hoping to eventually actually add tags for the projects as well, so that you wouldn't even have to sort by something as big as sector. You could get down to who's working with water filters or who's working with stoves or something like that.
Thank you. So this spring we conducted an initial pilot of our tool. And so we went to Guatemala and we met with 7 non-governmental organizations to discuss the functionality and appearance of the website. And the feedback that we kept getting was that organizations were interested in the tool promoting not only online but also offline communication. So not only would organizations use it to find out about other organizations through the actual website, but maybe the initiative of Link Atitlan would eventually be expanded to include conferences and steering committees. We also found that many organizations were interested in increased visibility, not only at the local level, but also the national and international levels. And so this was something that was informative for us in thinking about how to market and present our tool. And lastly, we heard that many of the organizations felt that regular maintenance of the site was really essential to ensuring that the tool was highly interactive and not solely a passive consolidation of information, but an interactive tool that organizations come to on a regular basis to find out about updates and are actually actively encouraged to network and collaborate with other organizations. And so through this initial pilot of the tool, we got a better sense of what organizations foresaw as the potential benefits of Link Atitlan. And something that we kept hearing was the potential for collaboration. So in avoiding project duplication and assisting resource allocation in the most efficient way. We also heard that organizations were interested in using Link Atitlan as a platform for networking, so meeting organizations that were working in a similar sector, similar area, but that they didn't previously know about. And as I mentioned, increased visibility. So both in terms of increasing visibility to potential grantors who might provide funding, but also in terms of international visibility. So for incoming interventions, the current NGOs were interested in being more visible to organizations that might come in and work with them rather than completely reinventing the wheel as they come to the Lake Atitlan Basin. Organizations also saw this as a potential web outlet if they didn't already have their own web page, and as a form of municipal engagement. So engaging not only within the nonprofit sector, but also in the future with initiatives that were run through municipalities and through the governments. And finally, as a method of receiving regular updates about what was going on in the Lake Basin, new organizations, new initiatives, whether that's in the form of newsletters or a discussion forum on the website. So we feel that the sustainability of the tool is guaranteed in part by the University of Virginia Guatemala initiative structure that will have 2 full-time in-country staff members that will be working on our project. We also met with Conectando Atitlan while we were visiting, and this is, as Lacey mentioned, the organization that was working on a similar initiative to ours. And they've recently been seeking some sort of revamp with the emphasis on a higher level of interactivity and more offline communication, which is very similar to the feedback that we were getting as we were piloting our tool. So we see this as maybe a potential collaboration to sort of pool our resources and make the tool more efficient in covering a broader scope of the Lake Basin. We also seek to expand not only to more NGOs, but also to municipalities to incorporate some of the work that the governments are doing, and to continue to modify the site functionality and interactivity to take into account the feedback that we got in this initial pilot trip. So thank you very much for your time, and we'd be happy to take any questions.